When I burst through the door, blood on my clothes, my parents didn't ask what I did. They didn't call the police. They hid me, cleaned me up, told me to keep quiet and lie low in the basement. Mark was furious when he came home and saw everything. "You're hiding him? He just stabbed 2 people. The news is everywhere. You're going to let him run free after that? What is wrong with you both? He's our son, Mark. So you'd rather protect a criminal than face the truth? He needs to face his punishment." That was the breaking point. My father stood up and pointed at the door. "Get out, Mark. If you can't support your own brother, you're not welcome here. I'm disowning you right now." Mark looked at both of them. Then he looked at me. He walked out without another word. And that was the last time I saw him. 2 days after the fight with Mark, the cops stormed our house early in the morning. They didn't even knock. They just barged in, shouting my name. I was half asleep when I heard the front door slam open. My mother ran into my room, shaking me. She looked so scared.
"Get up! They're here! The police!"
I knew this day would come. I didn't try to run. Where would I go? I guess I should start by introducing myself. My name's Johnson, and I'm here in jail telling this story. It's funny, because I always thought I'd be the one telling the story about how I made it big, how I became successful. But here I am, locked up for good. I'm the youngest of 3 kids. My older brother, Mark, was always the good kid, the one who followed the rules, did well in school, and made my parents proud. Lisa, my sister, was the perfect daughter, never a wrinkle in her record. Unfortunately, she died when I was 10. But me, I was different. I was special, or so I thought. And I think my parents thought so too. I've always known I was their favorite. It wasn't something they said out loud. Heck, it didn't have to be. It was in the way they looked at me, the way they treated me like I was something special and something better. And I didn't mind it at all. In fact, I liked it. It felt good to be different, to stand out, to know that no matter what, I was their golden child. When I was younger, I wasn't exactly the smartest kid. That was Mark. He was always the brainy one, always ahead of the curve. But I had something Mark didn't. I was more handsome. At least that's what I heard. My mom would always say, "Look at how handsome my son is. He's going to break hearts when he grows up." And when I heard that, I felt proud. I felt like I was someone worth looking at, someone worth talking about. I liked the attention. It was mine, and it was special. Mark was smart, but he wasn't as charming as me. He didn't have the same looks, the same natural appeal. And it was obvious. Mom and Dad loved me for it, and they made sure I knew. It didn't matter that I wasn't as good at school as Mark or as neat as Lisa. I had my charm. I had my looks. And for them, that was enough. The favoritism wasn't just about looks, though. It was everything. I could do things that Mark or Lisa couldn't get away with. I could break things. I could skip school. I could come home late, and they wouldn't say a word. They'd give me a look, maybe tell me to do better, but there was no real consequence. No grounding, no lectures. But Mark? If he even raised his voice above a whisper, Mom would jump on him, scolding him for being too loud, too rebellious. When Lisa was alive, if she didn't get perfect grades, she'd be sitting there at the kitchen table for hours, trying to fix whatever mistake she made. But me? I could do whatever I wanted, and Mom would just laugh it off. "Boys will be boys," she'd say with a smile. It didn't bother me at first. In fact, it felt kind of great. I had their attention, and it made me feel like I was different, like I was someone they couldn't get enough of. But looking back, I can see now how that kind of attention messed with my head. It made me feel invincible, like I could do anything and get away with it. I didn't have to try hard in school. I didn't have to be responsible. I didn't have to care. I had the looks, I had the charm, and that's all that seemed to matter. I never had to work for their approval like Mark did. I was the favorite, the golden child. And that's where it all began. That's where my downfall started. I had everything I needed to succeed, but instead, I let my parents' favoritism fool me into thinking I didn't have to try. And that's where everything went wrong. Because nothing lasts forever, not even being the favorite. You must be wondering how I ended up in jail. Well, let me tell you where it all started. I remember the first time I started smoking. I was just 15, hanging out with the wrong crowd. They were older, cooler, and they offered me a cigarette. I didn't think twice before I smoked it. It felt good, like I belonged to something, even if it was bad. From smoking, I moved on to drinking and eventually got into drugs. The gang I was with introduced me to all of it. I was hooked. Then I started stealing. It started small. Money from Dad's wallet, things from the house. At first, I didn't get caught. But then, one day, Mark caught me. I didn't know he was around, but he saw me taking the money. He knew what I was up to. He didn't say anything right away, but when Dad found out, Mark spoke up. I took the money. It was me. Mark lied. He lied for me. He took the blame. Dad didn't hesitate. He went after Mark, beating him mercilessly. I heard every sound of the belt and Mark's scream, but it was like music to me. Instead of feeling guilty, I felt relief. I felt like I could get away with anything. I knew what I had to do. The next time I stole, I made sure to blame it on Mark. I would take things, and when it was time to face Dad, I would point to Mark. Every time, Mark took the fall. He took the beatings. I just kept getting away with it. By the time I was 18 and Mark was 20, everything was upside down. Mark was the problem child in our parents' eyes. They couldn't see the truth. All they saw was the mess Mark made. They never said a word to me, not once. They looked the other way while I smoked, drank, and stole. But when they found even the smallest thing in Mark's room, anything that could tie him to something bad, they would flip out. One day, they found a cigarette near Mark's door. It wasn't even his. It was mine. But did I say anything? No, I kept quiet, and once again, Mark took the blame. They beat him so badly, I almost thought they'd kill him. But I didn't stop. I didn't stop watching. Didn't stop letting it happen. Mark became the villain, the bad one, the one who could never do anything right. And I just kept slipping by, not caring. It wasn't my problem. I didn't care that I was ruining him, that I was ruining both of us. I just cared about getting what I wanted, and that was enough for me. At least, that's how I thought back then. One day, Mark called me outside. He didn't look angry, but he looked so exhausted. "Johnson, you need to stop. This life you're living, it won't end well. You're going down a road you can't come back from. I'm your brother. I care about you." I laughed right in his face. Who was he to talk to me like that? I got angry, and before he could say another word, I punched him. I gave him a black eye and bruised his ribs. He was on the ground, holding his face and screaming. Our parents came running when they heard the noise. They saw Mark on the floor, bleeding. They looked at me, then back at him. He did it. Johnson hit me.
He must have had a reason, Mark. You probably said something to provoke him.
They left it at that, like it was normal. Like I hadn't just attacked their firstborn. A few weeks later, I crossed the line. I tried to kidnap someone's child. There was a big gang I was so eager to join. I had to kidnap someone to prove my worth before joining, but I got caught. The parents fought back, screaming for help. People started gathering. I panicked and stabbed the mother, then the father. I didn't even stop to see if they were alive. I ran all the way home. When I burst through the door, blood on my clothes, my parents didn't ask what I did. They didn't call the police. They hid me, cleaned me up, told me to keep quiet and lie low in the basement. Mark was furious when he came home and saw everything. "You're hiding him? He just stabbed 2 people. The news is everywhere. You're going to let him run free after that? What is wrong with you both? He's our son, Mark. So you'd rather protect a criminal than face the truth? He needs to face his punishment." That was the breaking point. My father stood up and pointed at the door. "Get out, Mark. If you can't support your own brother, you're not welcome here. I'm disowning you right now." Mark looked at both of them. Then he looked at me. He walked out without another word. And that was the last time I saw him. 2 days after the fight with Mark, the cops stormed our house early in the morning. They didn't even knock. They just barged in, shouting my name. I was half asleep when I heard the front door slam open. My mother ran into my room, shaking me. She looked so scared.
Get up! They're here! The police!
I knew this day would come. I didn't try to run. Where would I go? They caught me and threw me in the back of their van, with my hands cuffed behind me. At the police station, I found out how they tracked me. Mark had told them. My own brother. At first, I was mad. I felt betrayed. But as I sat alone in that cold cell, I started thinking about all the things I had done to him. How he always took the blame. How he protected me even when I didn't deserve it. Maybe this was his way of finally saying, enough. At my trial, everything came out. The attempted kidnapping, the stabbing, the cover-up. The judge didn't waste time. I was sentenced to 15 years in prison. 15. My parents were there. The court fined them $3,000 for trying to cover up my crime. They had to sell their house to pay it off and were left broke, forced to rent a tiny apartment afterward. They were also fired from their jobs once their companies heard the news, so they ended up working for a window cleaning company just to survive. They blamed Mark. They said he destroyed the family, that he turned his back on his own blood. He's not our son anymore. How could he betray his own blood? I stopped them right there. I told them the truth. I told them everything Mark had suffered because of me. How he took the beatings. How he kept quiet even when I ruined his name. How I stood by while they hated him for things I did. I told them how I had never once said thank you. Never once protected him like he always tried to protect me. They were so shocked. They tried to find him so they could apologize, but they never did. Mark seemed to have gone very far away. For 5 years, no one heard from Mark. My parents kept trying everything to find him, but it was like he disappeared. I could tell they were broken. They visited me in prison every month, but I could see how sad and miserable they were. One day my father came alone. We found Mark. He's doing well. He lives in a big house in another city. He's rich now and runs his own business. I didn't know what to say. I smiled, but it hurt. He'd made it. Despite everything we did to him, Mark survived. We went to visit him. We just wanted to apologize. But he told his guards to chase us out. He threatened to have us arrested if we ever came back. He had every reason to hate us. All those years we ignored him, blamed him, and let him suffer because of me. My parents raised me like I could do no wrong. They thought they were protecting me. But really, they were destroying both me and Mark. I ended up in prison, and they lost the one son who actually had a future. Now, I've got 10 more years to serve. I'm no one. Nothing. But I'm proud of Mark. I truly am. I just wish I could go back and be like him, before it was too late. If you don't subscribe in the next 5 seconds, absolutely nothing will happen. But wouldn't it be cooler if you did?